Hey guys, so today there was a brand new announcement across all the servers from Pearl Abyss. So they sent out a letter, and I'm going to read the letter and then discuss what it all means. So the letter goes as follows. Dev Diary, our vision of change and promises to Black Desert Online adventurers. Greetings, adventurers. This is Jae-hee Kim, the executive producer in charge of development for Black Desert Online. I would like to apologize to all adventurers for the inconvenience and confusion that they have experienced due to the recent Renown score update, changes to the class balances, and the new upcoming season of Node/Conquest Wars. It is my mistake and regret for being unable to fully communicate with adventurers before deciding upon such a major change. With this post, we hope to share the current issues with Black Desert Online, our vision of change, and the result of our discussions over the last updates after going through all of your feedback. So firstly, Black Desert Online is an MMORPG that must contain different types of gameplay. If you have to define Black Desert Online into 4 keywords, it would have to be MMORPG, combat, life content, and open world gameplay. In retrospect, it is true that we were afraid of making radical changes instead of improving and highlighting upon these 4 key themes. In the past 3 years, we have introduced 16 characters and added vast new areas like Medea, Valencia, Kamasylve, and Dragon, not yet updated. Even though development resources were poured into gameplay, it is also true that the improvements and changes could have been better. BDO's play patterns have become repetitive. We wish to bring out the characteristics of MMOs that excite you to offer better and various gameplay to our adventurers and guilds. We recognize we have fallen short. We stuck to maintaining the overall frame and starting out with small changes, but in order to get the improvements needed, we thought it was time to give some fundamental changes. The first action to deal with repetitive problems was the introduction of the Renown score and a new season of Node and Conquest Wars, not available for NA/EU yet. I want to apologize again for not coming to the consensus with the community before the change, and I hope to share the details of future development directions below. Balance between classes, the fundamental problems will be fixed. The PvP pattern of repeating a single combo that so many of our players have adhered to, increasing difficulties in performing skills, the balance among classes. We really wanted to fix these known problems that many adventurers have raised. To give you further details, many adventurers who were killed by the single combo performed repetitively lost the fun and interest in combat, as this seemed to be the only way to go. With the introduction of awakening skills and resistance skills for crowd controls, and as the dependency on this single combo increased, performing skills have become increasingly difficult. Without a grapple skill, it became very difficult to face blocks and super armor skills of opponents depending on class types. We came to the decision that it would no longer be possible to maintain the current structure and make incremental changes to solve this issue, and now we seek to improve the fundamentals. In short, this week's balance updates aim to lessen the gap caused by grapple, super armor, invincibility, guard, and dash skills, while allowing ease in controls and combos to bring about the pure fun in combat. This decision was carried out by the latest updates, but we fell short on satisfying our adventurers, and we regret this. Many factors, such as adjustments to certain classes, were unable to be implemented with these updates. Throughout the next 30 days, we will pay extra attention in dealing with class balance. We won't make abrupt decisions, but during this period we aim to bring changes that will be more acceptable to all. We will also be making an additional global communication channel so that we can be more receptive to the various feedback from all users. Next, progression, the key element of fun for MMORPGs, will be made better. Progression is key in MMORPGs and the fun factor that excites the crowd. However, it is also a reality that it takes our adventures anywhere from a few months to over a year to increase just +1 or +2 AP. With the CAFRS enhancement, to come soon to NA and EU, introduced in South Korea last week, the drop rate of certain accessories have doubled to help our adventurers grow their beloved characters, and we are continuing to look for ways to improve this. Our goal is to allow for adventurers to reach the so-called soft cap in equipment with more ease and interest through either loot or other methods. We also aim to facilitate the process of obtaining equipment beyond the soft cap gear easier than the current status quo. Renown score was a change to take part in this. We wanted to compensate the adventurers who had overcome the risk of enhancement and spent millions of silvers while growing their characters. We also wanted to reduce the instances where adventurers would get killed instantly no matter how good their equipment was due to a slight mistake in PvP. Despite our intentions, the gap in PvP balance has deepened, and we sincerely apologize for causing so much concern to our adventurers. In the following weeks, damage reduction boost with the Renown score will be adjusted downward, and damage inflicted will also be decreased. Further changes that will polish class balance will be implemented. Repetitive Node and Conquest. A new season will aim to reach a higher degree of completion. Node and Conquest Wars are the end content of combat in Black Desert Online, but with the updates in the last season, the actual number of wars declared was declining, and the intensity that formed among the guilds seemed to have lifted off to some extent. In some countries, we've had cases where a single guild has occupied a territory for 33 consecutive weeks. Man up. We needed a change. So, while planning for the new season of Node and Conquest, we wanted to create a structure where even smaller sized guilds can try to take down castles occupied by strong guilds using various offensive weapons, tactics, and strategies, so that the fun of this ultimate combat content can be experienced. We wanted to highlight this intention, but we will aim to solve the fundamental problem of class balance first, then polish out the season rules of the new Node and Conquest Wars. We will share the detailed schedule when we have it ready. We will strive to take in all feedback from every region of our adventurers and present the season most suitable and fun. We will improve our internal process to maintain a stable and secure service and notify major changes in advance. Black Desert Online, since its grand opening, sought to deliver new content to our adventurers as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, with the rushed presentation of the changes and adjustments to the game, some contents lacked in level of completion. From now on, the development team will perform much more thorough internal testing while also notifying our player base beforehand on large-scale updates or huge changes to the balance structure. To end, we want to apologize for the disorder and worry we've caused with the latest update. In order to develop a much more enjoyable Black Desert Online, we will keep our ears wide open to feedback from official forums, tickets, in-game chat, as well as external communities. By way of an apology for the worry that you experienced over the recent changes that have affected your enjoyment of the game, we wish to offer the following to every adventurer. Compensation: 6 buffs applied to all adventurers for 30 days. A value pack, an appearance change coupon, Merv's Palette, Blessing of Kamasylve, Armstrong's Skill Guide, and Cliff's Skill Add-on Guide. For adventurers who had these buffs applied already, the relevant buffs will be extended by 30 days. For adventurers who did not have these buffs applied, all the buffs will be applied after the 4/21, so April 21st, urgent maintenance. The same buffs will also be extended on the items used by existing adventurers later. For new adventurers who newly enjoy our game, they will be able to enjoy the extra buff until the 20th of May 2018. We thank you for taking the time to read this long statement. Thank you. So, what does this mean? Essentially, Pearl Abyss is admitting that the recent changes that they made to the game were a mistake, a large mistake, especially seeing as the compensation that Pearl Abyss offers is usually in the realm of a few GM's blessings. The fact that they're giving a 1-month value pack, Kamasylve Blessing, and all these other buffs is incredible, and it really shows that they realize that they pissed a lot of players off with the brand new changes. So, start off with, they apologized for kind of focusing on just bringing in new content, but not making any radical changes or trying to reiterate upon previous content. Life skilling, combat, with the exception of awakenings and new skills, and other key parts of the game have all been the same since the game's release, despite certain parts that could have easily been improved or that maybe should have been fixed to improve the player experience. They've instead just focused on bringing in new content and not really maintaining the old. So they're saying now that they want to fix that and start kind of building upon the foundation and improving the foundation before continuing to build higher. So instead of adding a 7th and 8th floor, they're going to be sturdying up, fixing any rusted steel beams, all that stuff. They're going to be trying to fix the foundation so they can make a stronger game as a whole. So they also said that the Renown score, the way it was implemented, is a mistake. The way they wanted it to work was that adventurers, they recognize just how difficult it is to improve your gear score, your AP, your DP. It literally does take months to raise AP and DP after a certain point by any reasonable amount, just because of how expensive items are and how difficult enhancement is. Renown score, in their eyes, was something that rewarded you for risking enhancement and continuing to improve your character. However, the way it was implemented, instead of improving people's characters, it drastically over-improved people's characters that were already really strong and caused a disparity that was already existed between higher gear score players and still high gear score but not quite as high players to become much worse, so that the highest gear score tier of players were absolutely destroying. So hopefully they're going to go back to the drawing board with that, and we should see that in the next 30 days. That's another big part of what they're talking about. Throughout the next 30 days, they're going to pay extra attention in dealing with class balance. We should expect to see a lot of big changes. Nothing too abrupt. They're probably not going to do anything drastic like give Musa a bunch of range attacks or make Witch and Wizard squishy assassins or anything like that. But we will probably see changes to super armor, changes to grappling, changes to how crowd control works and how burst skills work in large-scale PvP. So the next 30 days should bring huge changes to the overall balance of the game. They're also going to be making an additional global communication channel so they can be more receptive to the various feedback from all users, not just Korea. So balance between classes was kind of a big part of this dev blog. The main reason for this dev blog seems to be that they realize that they have messed up balance hugely, and they're trying to fix that. The single combo that they're discussing here seems to be, it could mean two things. It could mean just doing the exact same combo all the time, like as a Dark Knight. I've got a few various combos, but for the most part, I initiate using the Twilight Dash. I blow stuff up with Spirit Legacy. I'll dash backwards using the flows for Shattering Darkness and Seed of Corruption. And all my other skills basically go unused because, well, except for the movement skills, because they're not that useful. So that could be the single combo. The other thing it could refer to is one-shots. The wording here isn't as clear as it could be, but I believe it refers to the monotony of combat, and as well as the fact that most classes only have one viable combo to perform one-shots. So they're trying to fix the monotony of combat, which should mean that they're trying to make other skills viable or tone down the most powerful skills in certain classes' arsenals. So it'll remain to be seen just how they do that, but they do acknowledge that grapple skills, so grabs, as well as super armor and block skills, are rather difficult to balance. As with a grab, dealing with super armor and blocks is extremely difficult. But with a grab, dealing with a lot of classes becomes very easy, so it's kind of a delicate line. They also acknowledge that dash skills and invincibility skills are also kind of problematic, even if they do allow for a lot of fun in combat. So we should see a lot of interesting changes coming up in the next 30 days. They also acknowledge that progression is very difficult. So the fact that it takes months, even a year, as they say here, to increase just +1 or +2 AP is pretty insane, especially in an MMORPG where progression is core to the game as a whole. So the new Caphras enhancement system should help, but that's still very expensive. It costs billions of silver. So it'll remain to be seen how they decide to increase progression, or make it better, rather. They're also acknowledging that the damage reduction boost with their Renown score will be adjusted downwards, and damage inflicted will also be decreased. So hopefully one-shots become much more rare, and damage reduction also goes down a lot so that lower geared players can actually deal damage to the high geared players. Node and conquests. This is pretty big for more endgame players that participate in node wars as well as sieges, as they're acknowledging that the disparity between certain guilds means that a lot of guilds have just started giving up instead of going for the higher tier node wars. A lot of really strong guilds are kind of just contenting themselves with T1 or at most T2 nodes and not bothering to challenge the power structure that currently exists. The 33 weeks is most likely referring to Man Up, who held Valencia for over 30 weeks. So they're trying to give smaller guilds the opportunity to take down castles, to take down nodes, using various offensive weapons, tactics, and strategies, which seems to imply that they want to add more sort of siege weapons and tools rather than just pure using your class to fight other people's classes. So more stuff such as flame turrets and hawachas, hopefully more things such as elephants, mobile siege weapons, that the guilds can use to properly siege or make war, rather than it just being more like skirmishes between large amounts of adventurers. We should receive more information about this in the upcoming weeks, but they do say that they're only going to talk about this more in depth once class balance is much less of an issue. So first they're going to deal with class balance, then they're going to polish out the season rules of the new node and conquest wars. And finally, the biggest promise, really, is that they're improving their internal process to maintain a stable and secure service, and they're going to notify major changes in advance. One of the biggest problems with the new patch is that it feels like it hasn't been tested at all. There were players that could inflict permanent stiffness with various combos. There were players that were... A lot of high-geared players don't take any damage, really, from low-level players due to all the damage reduction that's been gained, as well as they're basically able to one-shot these players because of all the AP they've gained. So it feels like a lot of this stuff hasn't been tested at all, and a lot of the changes are not really stuff people have been asking for, but are instead the opposite. So hopefully this new internal process means that they will be discussing with high-level players much more often, they'll be discussing with the player base and adventurers as a whole, and guiding the game more in the direction the community wants, rather than in the direction they think that the community wants to go. So this is a very amazing note. Even just the compensation, like I already said, the compensation shows that they realize they've messed up. We have never received compensation like this in Black Desert before. This is absolutely incredible. But this note is really good news for Black Desert players. It's a much needed and welcome sign that Pearl Abyss does care about the health of the game. They do care about the game going forward. They're not just trying to grab as much money as possible before moving on to their next game. They do recognize that they've got a hit on their hands, and they want to pursue that. They want to allow Black Desert to continue to grow, to allow players to continue playing Black Desert, and to continue to want to play Black Desert, and hopefully to encourage new players to join Black Desert and see just how fun the game can be when you're not dealing with all of the bullshit that they've implemented over the last few months. So this is a great note. I am very excited because of this. I'm almost even more excited for the free value pack. That is pretty awesome. But this note, great news. I'm really excited to see what the next month or two have to offer for Black Desert. I know that this video is a little lazy. It is just a web page, and people have kind of bashed me in the past, but this is such a big thing that I felt that it deserved a video all its own. And yeah, I hope that everyone is happy. Comment below what you think of the note. Like I said, this is huge. We haven't received communication like this since the game released, and just before that. So big changes, really happy. Comment below what you think, and have a good one, guys. This is awesome.